Hey guys, Finally Sleeps here. Today we are wrapping up the Mazda Miata for the Flippin Budget Customs series. Something new for the channel. Since the pandemic hit, my two boys, 15 and 19, huge into cars. I've always been into cars. We usually have something around here to take to car meets or car shows or whatever. And with the pandemic, they said, let's start buying some custom cars. And there was a lot of stuff available because, unfortunately, pandemic, a lot of people needed money. It's been giving us an opportunity to buy custom cars that have been started. They're rough, they're old, they've been sitting in a garage, whatever it is. They need some tender loving care, and we've been able to put that into them and flip them for a decent amount of profit. Usually about a month, 5 weeks it takes to get one of these done and sold. The Mazda Miata we started, and we just sold it last weekend. So here it goes. We'll take a look at the video. Here's what we started with. It was $2,300, 1990 Mazda Miata convertible. We initially threw this video out explaining what the car was. This was the day we brought it home. And as you can see, it's got coilovers. The thing has been slammed. The fenders had to be rolled to keep everything from rubbing. You can see there's overspray all over everything. The tires are covered in blue paint. They've rolled the front end and they've rolled the lips, the fender lips, just to be able to, so that the wheels turn and there's no rubbing, anything. It's a decent car. It's definitely been started. Engine-wise, it ran fantastic. At some point, somebody had turbo on it, so there was a lot of weird stuff going on under the engine. The air intake was kind of wrapped around. There was an intercooler that kind of sat down in the front. I don't know if you can see it from there, but there's an intercooler in there from when the turbo was set up there. And they had open headers on this thing and a license plate acting as the heat shield to keep heat out of the master cylinder. That's how low the thing was. Like, bolt-on exhaust sitting right there. So the initial investment was $2,300. We put $200 right away into the stereo and electronics. I knew what I wanted. Some Mazda Miata. Nobody puts a big stereo system in a Miata. I said, that's the first thing we're going to do. Trunk space wasn't huge, but I wanted to put one big sub in the back end. I had a vision. I wanted to see what happened, so we'll get into that. $200 there, $50 for the exhaust. Like I said, bolt-on exhaust had to be fixed. So the couplers were coming apart and stuff. So $50 into the exhaust, $80 into the engine. That was our initial. The first weekend, that's what we went ahead and threw everything into the car. So here's the construction of this thing. This is what takes to get this thing into the garage. Like a piece of paper thin. So we started to clean the engine up. There were some sensors that had to be replaced. Ripped out the horrible guts that they had, trying to keep the heat off of the open headers away from the master cylinder. Went ahead and put header wrap on it, a conical air filter, cleaned up where it had everything sitting. Had to redo the front brakes. The electronics underneath the hood were all jacked up. This is what the trunk looked like when we initially got it. Yeah, literally full of shit. That's the old exhaust manifold with the turbo on it, the old muffler. It really was in decent shape. There's some little bit of rust. It's a 1990s, thing's 30 years old. So, but it was a pretty solid car. At some point they had flipped the rear end out so that the deck lid was red, but everything else, you can see the white. That's the original color of the car. Interior was pretty ragged. Even the gauge cluster's all cracked. We had to repair that. It did have a short throw in it and some odd electronic button that we didn't know it was for. Stickers everywhere. Why someone would put stickers inside their car, I have no idea. Just why? Why? Not sure. The interior was pretty faded because it was a convertible. This is the initial purchase of the sub, the amp, the head unit, and that the $200 included everything there. and all the wood and construction to be able to build the sub box for the back end. It didn't have room for 212s. We had barely enough room for 112 to be able to keep the deck lid to shut. As far as everything that we bought in the car, I'll put links to all of it in the description here at YouTube if you're interested. I mean, it's dirt cheap. It sounded fantastic though. Sounds great in the back of the car. It's a Miata. There's no open air through to the back end because that's where it's blocked off there because of the convertible top going down. But as far as with the top down and the stereo bumping, it sounds good in the car. Especially if you're taking it to a car show, you're pulling in, people are like, well, who the hell puts a stereo system in a Miata? This guy. So that's the way it was set up. 112-inch sub, put the amp on top, as long as we get everything in where the deck lid would shut. Now, initially, I envisioned doing tweed in the back end, and I kind of I wanted to do like fuchsia, maybe vinyl, like fuchsia vinyl with blue, but the boys, they talked me out of it. We went with tweed, like a dark blue.
It's Sunday morning. I'm out here in the Miata.
Okay,
watch this guy. Figure out the wiring on this thing so we can put a new stereo system in. And this is what I'm dealing with. When you're trying to flip a car like this, and it's been rode hard and put away wet, that is the definition of POS. They've jumped fuses in the panel to get important stuff working. So, Christ, I gotta rewire everything. Fun times. Seriously, how does a fuse get like that? Like, look at that. Don't know.
That's what the interior looked like. And as you can tell, I had to rewire everything. We started from the fuse panel back all the way. The flex fan on the radiator wasn't working. There was no wiring up top. The headlights were there and they flipped, and they actually did have aftermarket headlights with LED halo rings. The voltage meter that is in the dash was in, it just wasn't wired up. There's what it looks like once the stereo was installed. That's the sub box. Actually, I think that picture it's working. You can see the sub moving. Headlights were fantastic, but they weren't wired. So we did this. They actually changed color. There's a Bluetooth app that you can adjust the rotating wheel to change the color of the halos, which was cool. That was something we didn't even know about when we bought the car because the previous owner didn't know they were in there. We could see the LED ring, but he said, they've never worked since I've had it. Just took somebody that knew how to wire them up and actually take the time to do it. And that little button inside the interior, we hooked that up to the halos so that at a car show you could kick them on and then adjust it with your phone, turn the wheel, change the color. Once we got the sub box in the back end, I wanted to box it in so that it looked cleaner and get rid of all that dead white. And then we started looking at it like, we're going to have to paint everything. Let's just go ahead and paint all the door jambs, paint everything black. So the boys are taping everything off, and we didn't want to put a lot of money into it, so we just spray painted everything. That's what it all looks like with the jams and everything painted. And we went ahead and did it under the hood as well, just to clean up all the black edges so that it looked a lot better. There you can see starting to put stuff back together. Now with the faded gray seats and the blue tweed in the trunk, the decision was made to go with gray tweed in the door panel so that it matched the back end. There's the gray tweed and the blue tweed in the back end. That's under construction to bring everything together so that it all matched. Now, we did end up putting an extra $65 into the trunk. That covered the gray tweed, a couple of cans of spray adhesive, staples, whatever. We had an additional $6,500 in. $70 in miscellaneous cost, and that was everything from tax and title and just a random run for a part here at the end. So that brings everything down to $2,775. That was the grand total, all invested into it. $475 out of pocket and a ton of labor. A lot of labor. So let's go back and take a look at this. Is what the trunk looked like, just so you can see. There's the trunk when we got it, full of junk. You can see everything's white. There's white around all the edges. The deck lid was red. Rusted battery cables and everything. So all this needed to be cleaned up. Interior trashed. White edges around everything. That's the way you can see the wiring running in under the hood. Coming in around there. All the stickers. It's a bit of a shock. Busted gauge cluster. Everything just needed cleaned up. So here's what it looks like finished. There's the gray tweed and the blue tweed. The gray tweed now matches the faded black seats, so it looks like it was done on purpose. Even the deck lid's black. The wheels were scrubbed. Lemon juice and baking soda and a scrub brush, I think. SOS pad. Got all the paint off of the wheels. Engine-wise, was running great. Car sounds good. The exhaust was fixed. All the leaks were corrected. The bolts were welded through. Total investment, $2,775. Time to sell it. We decided to ask $4,800 for the car. Now that's a big ask on a car that we really only have $2,800 in. But looking around in this market, it's a 90. It's got the flip-up headlights. It is a very sought after Miata. We said, let's give it a go. Let's see what people say. First guy out bought the car. $4,500. That is a total profit of $1,725. $1,725. Split 3 ways with the boys. Very happy. The car was a blast to drive to the point where I would actually go buy another Miata. I loved it. And we were fighting over who got to drive the car every day. My 19-year-old loved it. And as the weather started to get bad, there were many days where it was 45 degrees outside, and I saw him turn the corner and pull in with the top down, the heat up, his hoodie on. Like the car was just a blast. And much like any of these cars we've gotten rid of here in the pandemic, right as we list it for sale and people start coming to look at the car, we always have that moment of, do we really want to sell this thing? Because it's been so much fun. Do we really, truly want to get rid of the car? But I'm sure we'll see it at some car shows around the area. Very happy with it. I mean, it's an $1,800 profit on a car that we paid $2,300 for. Bye-bye, Miata. Up next, I think the next thing we need to do is we have to put together something with a bigger stereo system. Building the 12-inch sub in the back of that car got me excited. And I think the next thing we do, I'm building a wall. I want a wall behind the front seat. So the next flip that we go for is going to be something lowered, something 2-door, possibly a hatchback. We'll rip out the back end. We'll throw a wall in, maybe 415s, 418s, 612s, something. I haven't built a giant stereo system in quite some time. So that's the next flip. If you like this, if this is something you would like to watch again, and I'll keep putting these videos together on flipping these small cars, let me know in the comments if you want to see this again. The last car we did was a 2003 GTI. I've a 2-stepped GTI. I can put a video together of that. Just let me know if it's something you want to do. Make sure you like, comment, share, subscribe. Check us out here on YouTube whenever any new video goes live. That's it. As long as you guys keep watching, I'll keep making videos.